Today I'm going to show you how to make a jack-o'-lantern clicky fidget in just a few minutes, so let's get cracking. Friends, we're going to start today with a bit.ly. Please type bit.ly/tinkjack25. This takes you to the Clicky Jack-o'-lantern template. Of course, it is set to copy and tinker, so don't forget the golden rule of Tinkercad. Give a reaction before you copy and tinker. Once you do that, you get an exact copy of my project. I can add notes like this will have the tutorial soon. These are the two magic parts that we use to make any clicker. Now I'm going to make these so that you can use them again and again. To do that, simply click one of them. Notice I've got the hole cutter. I go to your creations and we create a shape. You have to wait for it to load. I'm going to add the name hole cutter. It's got to be a hole. I'm going to lock the part size and save the shape. It takes a moment for it to show up, but there it is, and I'm going to do the same thing with the keycap as well. Once again, click it, create shape, name it keycap, make sure it loaded, lock the part size, and save the shape. Now I've done this again and again, so I'm going to delete these, just showing you how. If you ever make extra, this is how you clean them up too. Alright, so here is our awesome SVG. This has awesome skills like outer line and inner line, and I have used it to make clicky fidgets. I'll leave a tutorial in one of those if you really want to do it that way, but I've got a new way that I think is more efficient in the end. Under basic shapes, we want to bring out the sketch tool. I'm going to just drop it in a 20 by 20 grid close to our shape, and this is the super slick sketch tool. If this is your first time seeing it, this is where you can check out the sketch preview. These are awesome, animated, and full of great information. You can simply click through and learn at your leisure. When you're done, of course, you can click continue to sketch to return here. Whenever you want to get back, it is available up there. If you prefer learning from my tutorials, I'll of course have the playlist right here that you can check out as well. All right, so let me show you how to trace this. First, we're going to switch to Bezier curve mode, which is number 2. I'm going to switch my nudge to 0.1 so I can get close to the shape. And I'm just going to pick a corner that's close, and I'm going to click, hold, and twist to make it start following this shape. I don't have to be perfect, but the less points I use, the easier the curves or the better the curves look. Click, hold, and twist. Click, hold, and twist, and just continue this all the way around the shape, knowing that I can edit it when I'm done. I don't want any of the inside details. I just want to follow the shape in a nice, smooth system. If I ever want to go back to a straight line, like I want to bend this the other way, I'm going to hit number 1. Now I can press number 2 and go back to my curve method. And it lets me build it relatively quickly. Once again, there's the number 1. This lets me bend it that way. And number 2, so that I can bend it back around. If you miss by a little bit, you can of course adjust it later. Once again, that number 1 trick, this is going to be jagged in a moment, but we'll fix it once we're done. Hit that number 2 to go back to the curve. There's my bend. And let's see if I can just finish with one piece. Heck yeah. So there is the outside of my pumpkin. If I double click it, I can now click on these points. Notice if it has this line right here, it is a smooth curve, and we can adjust them at the same point. If you ever want to have broken curves, you just press number 3, and then you can adjust each of them independently. So there I just twisted that back around until I get the exact pumpkin I want. Once again, number 3 gives you the broken independent curves. Number 2 gives you the smooth ones. If you ever want to make a straight line, you can just hit number 1. When you've got a pumpkin shape you're happy with, like I am happy with that one right there, I am going to hit Finish Sketch, and this is what we're going to build with. We can take the original one and you could delete it, or you could just move it to the other side. This is the part that's going to hold this cutout. Because this is 11.27, we're going to take this and change it to a height of 12 and press enter. Now let's quickly get this lined up. We can simply grab those two, choose L for a line, We're going to pick the pumpkin as the master and center it. Center it, and then we also need it to be at the top. Now, I don't like where this is lined up because of how the stem is here, so I'm just going to click and move it down. If we use shift nudge, it moves a little faster. You could also change your nudge to find the exact middle, left and right, for how you want this to look. Once you're happy, I need you to shift select these two. I need you to do Control D and shift nudge it side by side. This is also going to be the top of our Clicky Fidget. The only difference is we're going to set the height to 4.5. So these have to line up perfectly. Let me show you how we're going to do this. Hide this part, grab these two, L for align, make this one the boss, and simply choose center and center. With that in place, now we can delete it. When we do show all, bang, your parts are in the correct spot. All right, let's bounce back to the fidget base. We've got these two that match. If we do Control D and edit sketch, inside here we're going to click on this, and instead of having it with that filled shape, we're going to turn on the stroke. We're going to type a number of 1.2. You can go larger if you want, and we're going to set this to the outside. Notice all of the old shape, the duplicate is underneath and will be inside, and this will be the outside shell of our project. If we hit Finish Sketch, now that we've got these awesome walls, we just need to stretch them up. I'm going to tell you the correct number that we want to type in here is 17 and press enter. Now this is a perfect match. We need this to be a little bit thinner so that there is a easy fit when we snap this together. This is one of my favorite new tricks. Friends, we're going to put the work plane right up here by clicking W and clicking on it. Click on this shape and do Control D and drop. We're going to take this and make it a hole. And we're going to make it a special hole when we hit Edit Sketch. Click on it. Choose the stroke settings. I'm going to tell you to start by switching it to center. Right there you can see that it goes on an inside path. It's going to cut away both chunks of that. The magic number is 1 millimeter. This gives you a 0.5 millimeter gap on each side, and it should be perfect. You can make this a little bit shorter. It really doesn't matter, but we do want to shift select these two parts and do Control G to group. Bang! You have just got this trimmed so there is a gap all the way around for this top to fit in a little bit later. I'm going to hit W to put the work plane back on the ground. Now we can grab this part and do Control G to group. Let's quickly peek underneath our pumpkin. We had not grouped this yet. Let's do Control G to group, and now we're ready to draw the awesome jack-o'-lantern face. Now there are tons of ways to do this. Of course, you use scribble. Of course, you can use sketch. I will quickly highlight sketch since it is the newest tool we have. We could make a simple eye. Notice I'm just doing the straight lines. Bang, that one is done. I could also do Control C and Control V, so I had my two eyes instantly. You can hit P for pen, and you can start drawing a mouth. Of course, we'd want to use number 2 to make a Bezier curve. Notice I'm going to click halfway down, bend and twist, bring it up, and then as I bring it across, let's do straight lines to add the teeth. You can have a ton of fun making a super fancy face in almost no time. When you hit Finish Sketch on this simple version, of course, we would click on it and make it 0.5 high, which is nice and short. I will also show you we can double click to edit. And notice my teeth aren't lined up perfect. I can double click to get in here and edit. I can click on all these points. Shift click, shift click, shift click. And when I use the arrow keys, I can nudge my tooth to the exact location I want. This is almost center, so it's not going to be perfect, but it's that easy to modify and work on it. Now notice here I double clicked and it auto straight lined. If I double click again, it auto curves, which I don't want. Remember, if you don't want something, just do Control Z to get back to where it was. To select a single point, once again, just click the point, and then it was shift click to grab the others. If you just want to make one tooth a little wider, you can just click in the middle. That's how you can nudge them. It is that easy to make fantastic faces in no time. You could add all kinds of features. Of course, we could also click on these, and instead of having them filled, we could turn on The width, notice if you make it size 1, then it shows up and you can see that they are hollowed inside. And then it's even faster once you've got one the way you like. Just do that Control C and Control V to make the copy. Finish sketch, and of course that one could be called fantastic, but I've even got a better way. Check this out. Just for fun, let's grab these two and let's make them an orange. Bang. And then we are going to import a SVG. Now I've got a tutorial where I show how to find these. I'll put it up here in the corner. Right now I'm just going to simply show you. All right, this is my pumpkin face. I should have named it better, but I did not. It is quite fun. Notice we do switch it to art. Remember, these were about 50, so I'm going to just click on the largest one of these, and I'm going to type 50 and press enter, and then import that fun face. It'll show up under my pumpkin. I can then click on it and bring it over to our shape. Now we can shift scale to get it to the exact size. I will highlight that if I had picked one without these details, it would probably print better. These thin lines are likely not going to show up. Right now, though, I'm going to hit W for work plane, put it on top, and hit D so that it's at the right height. Of course, we're going to set that thickness to 0.5 and press enter. I will let you see that you can switch this to silhouette. Maybe you'll like that instead. I do not. You can also fiddle with the outer line. I'm going to quickly adjust the settings, set that line width, and wait a moment for it to render. I don't like that because it had the errors, so I'm just going to go back to default. I'm going to switch the color to black just because I think it looks a little cooler. I'm going to use a line to make sure it's in the middle this way. Let's put the work plane back down on the ground, double check that it is cut in, which it is, and let's send this for 3D printing. I'm going to export these as separate pieces. I do not like the OBJ method because of the zip files. For some reason, they annoy me, so notice I've just got the selected shape, STL. I'm going to put it in my 3D modeling folder, and I'm going to call this top of the Clicky Jack lantern, and hit save. Now we can click on the face, once again, export. Selected shape STL. This is going to be called face. And hit save. And then once again, we're going to click this and export it as the base. Selected shape STL. I'm going to steal the short name and add base in front. And hit save. So quickly, we'll bounce to Bambu Lab Studio, create a brand new project. I'm going to shift select the top and the face at the same time. I'm going to load these as a single object, multiple parts. Now I can click on object mode and just set the colors. Of course, I want the face to be black. I'm going to make the pumpkin orange. As you can see, it comes through like this, but check this out. These tiny lines, if we hit slice plate, they don't really show up. We could have solved this by just making sure our shape did not have those thin lines, but check this out. Going back to global, strength, and seeing what it looks like with thin walls. Once again, you do have to hit slice plate. That actually came out a little better. I'm going to use 0.2 walls. I am going to go back to others, and I'm going to shut off the prime tower. Because the black happens completely after the orange, I am not worried about potential mixing. Let's quickly hit slice plate. Once again, checking this out, it is going to take 17 minutes to print, so let's hit print plate. Double check the colors and send it to the 3D printer. Of course, now we need to print the other part. Simply grabbing the base, once again setting it to orange. Notice these quite often have errors. These are caused by how we cut it out so it had room for the top to fit. You can simply hit repair, wait a moment, and you're good to go. We'll stay with the 0.2 standard settings. We do not have to worry about the strength on this one. We can simply hit slice plate and we'll have our awesome base in about 20 minutes. Now the reason I did not print these at the same time is because I did not want the color change time between the face where it went to black while this one is staying completely orange. And of course now we can simply hit print plate, double check that color and send it for 3D printing. And 17 minutes later, how cool is that? Alright, so let's get ready for assembly. Once again, using Kali switches, there will be a link in the description. You may have noticed there was a tiny bit of stringing on this. I was able to peel that off. with a screwdriver. Here is our awesome base. Notice you want to find that edge that clicks in there. Simply line up the keyboard switch, click it in, grab your awesome face, press it in there, and bang. You have got an awesome Clicky Fidget. How cool is that? Check this out, also a Clicky Fidget, but this one prints face down. I'll make sure there's a link in the description so you can check it out as well. I do also want to quickly highlight the SVG Flexies. I'll put a link in the description to those as well. All right, so let's quickly check what we learned. Of course, we got a template. Once we opened it, I showed you how to save things as your creations. When you revisit that area, you can always reuse those parts, which is super slick, especially with something like those fidget holes. Of course, we also learned how to trace an SVG using the sketch tools. That was cool because it gave us that outer line, which we could then use to trim and make things so they fit the way we want it. Of course, then you had all kinds of options, either drawing your own fun face or bringing it into SVG. Of course, my SVG had the thin lines, which might be an issue. So, of course, if you find a design that has fewer details, it'll probably come in just a little bit slicker. Of course, if you find one that is awesome, I would love to see it. Don't forget, if you ever tag a design with HLMT23, I check that tag every day. And of course, I'll give you a reaction. I would like to quickly say thank you to everybody that supports me via YouTube memberships. Don't forget, there are 3 different levels of support, starting as low as $5 a month. With any level of support, of course, you get early access to videos. Also, a huge shout out to everybody that is part of my Patreon. It is a fantastic place with more than 250 members. There is a sweet messaging area. You can ask questions, get support, and learn skills. Of course, you can learn more with the bit.ly up above or the link in the description. Finally, friends, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget, every time you hit that like button, share a video, add a comment down below, or click subscribe, you're helping HLModTech get just a little bit bigger, which absolutely makes my day. Friends, have a glorious day, and keep tinkering.